All right, so welcome Joe Cassavaugh from Puzzles by Joe. Thanks so
No,
much
what
for.
was that? That was a horrible rendition of my name. You can say my name better than
So
that.
Cassavaugh or Cassavaugh or is it like
There's
Van
no O in
Gogh?
it, so Cassavaugh was good. It's
Cassa.
pronounced Casanova with no no.
That that's right. That's a great way to remember.
So,
Awesome. Well, welcome and thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to go over Benji Bot. I just wanted to give you an introduction real quick. Joe's from Puzzles by Joe, and if you would give a little introduction to yourself as well, and what makes your company special.
sure. Thank you, Ben Lowenstein. Um, my company is Puzzles by Joe. I am the clutter guy. I have a successful. I've been lucky enough to create a subgenre to a fairly successful genre and turn that into a sustainable career. I kiddingly now call myself the. I say I am arguably the most successful solo indie in Atlanta.
He's living the
Um,
indie dream. It's the
I am. Actually only 2 years. I'll tell that real quick. 2 years ago, or about a year and a half ago, I guess, is when I finally realized I've stopped grinding it out, and I'm actually at the point where I'm truly living the indie dream
yeah.
now because I can go slow enough and also do more stuff like the guys behind me there, the hearts.
And which game are they
Before
from? They're from your most recent one, right?
correct, they're in Clutter Evolution. They're the one going out 2 to 3, 4 weeks or whatever tops. The first Unity, after I made the first Unity game, was finally I decided, oh wow, this makes me 3 to 4 times faster. It's easier, it's more fun again. Instead of being the grind, I could take a step back and say, what do I really, really want to do again? And I can pick and choose much more. And if you're not picking and choosing, you're just grinding it out, as they used to say. There's a movie Rounders where they talk about playing poker,
Yeah.
grinding it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not that much fun. I've always managed to have some fun, but I really am. I'm finally living the indie dream instead of just grinding it out. Close to 4 million in sales, 1 million net
Yep.
royalties to me. Now, other people have made much more money off of me because as you know, distributors get much more
Yeah.
than us lowly
Yes.
people
Plebeians.
that provide them the product.
Right.
So
Well, all right. So as you know, I'm entering the indie space and have started my first project, Benji Bot, and I have came to seek counsel and ask kind of your opinion, and also just to get into a nice design discussion and to go over some of the details of the game and just kind of pick it apart as I develop. So.
yeah. When did you officially actually start coding on it?
I started officially coding on it April. I'm looking at my calendar on the wall. April 5th.
Wow. So that's definitely impressive. So it's been 3 weeks, but
Yeah.
it's I mean, I don't know how easy Godot is, but everything always bites you. It's
Hmm.
we used to say back in the day, what's it like to be a computer programmer for a living? It says, and I always said this, it's interesting till you know how to do it, and then it's boring, right? And the only thing that lets you transcend that is when you start creating your own stuff
Mhm.
instead of just being work for hire or whatever. Anyways, I was very impressed with the amount of stuff that's in there,
Thank you.
even though I have no. I'm sure Godot does tons for you, but at the same time, even with that taken into the equation,
Hmm.
I'm actually very impressed with what you've done in the 3 weeks
Thank
and
you.
the diversity of stuff, the feel of it. I mean, you obviously had to you even pick heights of jumps. I mean, there's things. You did a lot of improvements, and even the two versions I saw was really nice. Um, I again, there was a lot to like, and I watched your whole video finally again, and
Nice. Thanks.
man, I look forward to seeing what you come up with and stuff. I will mention one trap. You want to make sure you want to spend a lot of time exploring the space and letting it grow naturally as opposed to being tricky. And you even said something, I'll give you high marks. You said something at some point exactly about that trap, that you don't want to be so archaic, right? That you put in something that only you know because you designed it, and they'll scratch their head forever until you point it out, even though it might be obvious,
Hmm.
right? and you're so far you seem to be doing a good job. I did notice one thing. I was curious. I think later on you have puzzles where it matters, but when he fell and you can pop up his legs again to do the bounce.
Yes.
What I didn't get is it seems to me that as soon as he stops bouncing, when you have legs, why don't you just show him for it? Why do you make them do that?
Right. Yes. So actually,
and later on, there's a puzzle where you care.
Right.
But if he's got a floor, underneath him, you could make that choice, I think.
So that's a really interesting. So I actually did that. The first, I guess, version that I actually instituted the legs, I had it so if you run out of momentum, he'll automatically stand up. The main reason why I actually chose against that was because I wanted to get people in the habit of doing it themselves. Because I think, they say practice makes perfect, and if you're doing something enough, it becomes second nature. And I didn't want there to be any kind of split of consciousness where they're in one scenario they rely on the machine to do that work for them. One area they have to do it, and maybe there's a situation that's a little bit gray, and they die or they don't succeed in getting the thing or whatever. So this way, it kind of reduces the amount of, I guess, the possibility or chance of things, kind of being a toss-up, and it makes it more sure that players, there's really one way to do something, and they've done it the whole game, so that way it's not a surprise or they get angry at the system,
I get that.
So we'll go ahead and start. So obviously this is this level basically is just something, so I don't forget it. I have it down in my notebook, and it's just a quick sketch of the general feel. So like the springboards, like this actually right here is just a placeholder because it's supposed to be his bed. It's like he wakes up in the morning, he's bouncing on his bed, looking out the window, he's excited to start his day. And it's the day he like moves out. So this whole story is kind of like a coming of age story. So Benji wakes up and he goes downstairs, and here's his dad's office, and his dad's, son, it's your big day, good luck, I'm proud of you. Go, make sure you say bye to your mom. So he goes down to the kitchen. So she just kind of is giving you like the mom talk, and she says something like, only you are responsible for building yourself into the bot you want to be. I'm trying to build the story and build a couple of just like keywords to let you know, to give you a sense of what you need to do. And she's like, but you're working with great materials. So she's like, go do great things. So you kind of go out, and I wanted this portion to be, obviously, all these are placeholder art, so it's kind of boring to scroll around, but I want a lot of interesting things to be in the background, and the foreground, it starts to kind of, music is playing, it starts to kind of get you acquainted to the world. And I do want to put almost as a little reference, like at some point, like maybe here, there's like a scarecrow kind of in the foreground or the midground.
Okay.
And as a reference to Lord of the Rings, where Sam, it's the farthest he's ever gone from the Shire.
Ah, okay.
So he goes off, and you saw the video, so you've seen this stuff, and I've covered it before, so you can go ahead, and if there's anything that stands out to you.
One of the things I want to point out for people that will see this is what I loved is playing your game. It felt great, felt very responsive, and you could see the frame rate here doesn't do you justice.
Yeah,
it looks like he's floating too much. He doesn't hit things.
It's
really not that. You really do feel like you're bouncing off things. And I can't remember, did you have sound at all when he hits?
I just have sound when you collect the diamond. I haven't implemented any sound effects right now, and I'm actually working off a Mac from like 2010 right now. So I think it's going crazy with like screen recording, Logic, Zoom, and a video game playing at the same time. So
yeah, I think the sound will just add to it. But I had fun playing it even without it, but it, and this guy killed me. I was ready to kill him. So.
See, the funny thing is, did you expect when you touched him for you to die immediately?
No, but I expected it to die. I didn't expect it to totally reset and fine, and that's fine. And again, this is, to me, you know me, I'm a logic guy, so that's all I cared about. I didn't even care
Yeah.
about no graphic, no split in half, no
Yeah.
anything, right?
I was.
And it bothered me that when I went up him and just leaned against him, that top, that I died.
Ah.
I felt like if I don't fall on him, why should I die? But I get it. So,
So
you know,
it was I put the collision for the spike at the very tip. So even if you hit the side of the spike, you're not going to die. It's just kind of when sometimes when you roll up, you'll get poked by it and that will
okay.
kill you. So, I wanted to be fair. I still wanted to make sure it's like you got to stay away from the spikes and you will get hurt if you get near them because I personally can't stand games with spikes that literally if you touch the base of it with a toe, bam, you're dead, you know?
Right, right. Have you played Default Dan, by the way? Have you ever heard of that game?
What's it called?
Default Dan?
No.
It was beautiful. It was written by a local guy, started at a game jam. And the core idea was basically everything's reversed in Mario. So you actually, the spikes are rubber and you bounce off them. But if you, if you jump up and touch one of the boxes or grab a coin, it kills you.
Oh my
It's,
gosh.
it's brutal. And even knowing it, it's so hard not to still reach for the coins.
Well, it's like those things where it's the word blue, but its color is green. You have
Yeah,
to read what the
yeah, it's
color is.
exactly that. Yep.
Totally messes with your brain, your expectations. So, but yeah. So this whole first stage, I'm definitely gonna add a lot more levels that ramp a little bit more gradually. And I was thinking, and I wanted to get your advice. I'm really trying to figure out how many levels per stage. I want enough gameplay. I also don't want to bite off more than I can chew. You know, I was thinking. I actually kind of had an interesting idea for the plan of how I was going to handle levels. So maybe like 20 in each stage, but number 10 is like a diamond hunt, and number 20 is like I'm actually going to zoom the camera back even further and make it like basically the space of 4 levels. Like it's just one massive
Oh yeah,
level
that would be cool.
for like difficulty. So you have kind of like 15 easy levels, a diamond hunt, 3 medium, and then like a really hard one. Or kind of give it that variety. That's kind of like an accumulation or a test of all that
Mm-hmm.
you've learned. So in your case, like how do you handle levels and like do you have stages or is it just one continuous stream?
No, so I have lands. So because my I have a main menu and that main menu has lands and that now can have n number of lands.
Yeah.
It's all whatever. And then each land has x by x number of puzzles basically.
Yeah.
And I often wheel things. So for instance, one land will be nothing more than the mahjong puzzles. Okay.
Gotcha.
But it'll be 10 really good layouts wheeled or cross vectored with 10 different object sets. I have hats, I have bottles, I have cushions, I have smileys.
Yeah.
And people like to play them. And in fact, I then do, this is great, even those levels have levels within them because, for instance, in the mahjong game, whether you want to match 2 or 3, I gave them the ability to pick it. Not in the main quest. In the main quest, I hard code and define things. But in the other areas where they can get and just explore.
Yeah.
So in the mahjong layouts, because I couldn't decide, I mean, as a game creator, you should be able to decide, but at the same point, I want to give them flexibility.
Right.
And that's why, and by the way, there's people that have been playing my games for over 6 or 7 years that have played it for over an hour a day, and they never get tired.
Wow.
Okay. Well, so for mahjong, picture this: I got 10 layouts. You can play them with the hearts, you can play them with the smileys, you can play them with the whatever you like, right? Regular objects. But then you can do things like say, I want to do a match 2 mahjong versus a match 3. You can play with whether the objects are rotated or not, and that makes it harder. whether they're all just facing straight up at you like these hearts are, or whether they're all angled differently. Much harder to match them when they're rotated, right?
Right.
And the third thing I did was I let you go through 4 variations of size. So when it's on a Mahjong tile set that there's no Mahjong, there's just the tile, there's just the, like these guys look like they could be in a Mahjong grid, really, right?
Oh, yeah?
Grid. But you can vary the size of them, so you vary how much they overlap, which also makes things harder.
Wow.
And when you put the smileys, 100 smileys all overlapping on top of each other and all big instead of small. If you make them all small, it's pretty easy. You make them big where they start overlapping, it's tougher. Mm-hmm. So I give them. So even though there's 100 puzzles in that area, if you really did the math, there's 4 times 2. There's 16 ways to play each level.
Wow.
That's fundamentally different, right?
Gotcha.
But the quest, I use the quest, I cheat. So the quest is my way of introducing all the different variations they have so they can then go off and explore.
Okay.
It would be like if you gave them all this and then at the very end let them build levels.
Oh, I see. Nice.
And play by themselves, or at least an area where they could pick a few parameters and it would randomly generate a level for them.
Okay.
And it's tough. I mean, it's definitely easier. And you make choices all the time, right? Because here's a good example. I enjoyed your talk in the video about this. And you're hopping them. You were stepping up, before.
Yeah.
There's many choices. Like, really here's an idea for you. You have your main quest, but you could have at least one other area that, for instance, is nothing more than a gauntlet of these spikes.
Yeah.
With varying spaces. That level itself, just that one puzzle, and how fast and how long you can do it and how much you can say, is in a sense, it's like it's equivalent to Flappy Bird.
Right.
Because it's just this one thing done well that's varied and random, and they'll never get sick of it.
I wanted to add, and that's a good idea because it's not a regurgitation of something like in the main game. It's its own thing. It's like a mini game.
Right.
I did have, and this actually kind of ties into my plan that I was talking about, of really how to stand out, because the problem now is not making the games or funding the games. It's really getting your games heard in the sea of other games that are out there. I mean, it's talk about a saturated market. It's never been more saturated. And the thing that one of the areas, and this is an area of passion, I actually did touch on this in the video, but is really speedrunning. I really love speedrunning, and I have a lot of respect and admiration for speedrunners and what they do, and I like that concept. So I wanted to add actually a speedrun mode where I slightly modify the game, the campaign. I cut out the intermediary levels, I make transitions between levels immediate, and I also have a scoring system that has to do with time and also how many times you die and what you collect. And I was thinking about actually strewing these levels with kind of small coins, and you can basically add points or multipliers to your total score if, because time, is definitely the number one thing, but, if someone makes a fast time and also collects a lot of other coins, they can actually get some bonus modifiers. And one thing I was thinking of doing is putting together, raising some money and doing a speedrunning competition and giving away prize cash.
Right, prizes and stuff.
Joe, I want to make a comment on this level. We had a little bit of conversation yesterday, and you had said, if a level looks simple, it's harder than it looks. If it looks hard, it's simpler than it looks. I feel like this is the latter. It looks hard and complicated, but this is honestly easier. If we go to this level looks really simple, but honestly is, I don't know, did you make it past this level?
I did not make it up to these guys. Have you played Polyroll at all?
Oh, I don't think I've played that yet. I was talking to my friend.
The Sonic-like one by Justin and...
Polyroll. Oh, yeah. I've actually played that a decent amount. I haven't bought it yet, but I've played it a bunch at their at showcases and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a great game. It's like Sonic.
Yeah, and I can't play that one either, so just let you know.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So this puzzle, actually this is probably my favorite one that I've done so far. So basically, I want to one of the areas that I found was difficult and kind of important for me to be aware of is, first off, because there's a border around the screen, it's limited space, and I wanted to do that to myself to kind of restrict being able to do, like a full,
Sure.
adventure game where you just kind of follow things. I thought it'd be nice to be able to get all the information on a level up front,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but still be able to get that adventure taste between levels. I am going to have long transitions when you go through a village and through the countryside, and it is more of a traditional adventure game where the camera follows the player. And
Right.
but
I think the
also,
variety is good. I think the counter people never do enough.
yeah.
I want to give you credit for another thing too. So this is one of the things I talk about occasionally when I talk, but it's like at game jams or they come out with people stop.
Mm,
They they succeed at like mimicking Mario and they're done
mm,
because they did something hard.
yeah.
They did something that a lot of people can't do, right? I mean, this is 3 weeks. I'm very impressed with that, but people stop, and I beat up myself for it. I'm doing stuff now because Unity makes it a little easier. Plus, I've been doing it for 10 years. That I sit there and I go, why didn't I do that 3 years ago?
Mm,
Why?
mm.
Why? What
Yeah.
I'm sticking right now. I've had pop up help in my in my game from day one. Why didn't I allow a little extra icon so I get some visual information in there when I want instead of just words?
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
It's such a natural. And it's not like it was hard coding. It's just this extra thing that if it's there, you put it there.
Yeah.
It's simple. But people like games, they do something and then they're done.
Mm,
And by the way, that's how I was with my first Clutter. I was done. I thought, I'd done 12 variations, 3 different ways to play, 100, and then I go, well, no, I'm going to do Clutter 2. Well, what the hell am I going to do? And what I'm amazed at is I still think of things to do in the space.
yeah.
And that's what I see here is you're still just starting to explore this stupid space. You're going
Nice.
to think of something else. What's really nice is as you go by, you're going to occasionally have an idea that you'll realize applies to every level you've already done.
Mm,
So instead of it just being another level, another variation, yeah, you might introduce it that way, but then you multiply it against everything you've always done and gone, oh, here's another one. How long did it take you to write the little sparkly guy, for instance, around the diamond and the other guy?
oh yeah, super quick. It's awesome. I'm gonna just jump in there now because why not?
Okay.
So Godot is the best thing since sliced bread. I am such a fanboy. It's ridiculous. So I can go to the diamonds real quick, and I also, here's one thing that has helped me a lot. I'm gonna shout out Walter Biscardi because he was my mentor, and I was an intern at his studio, Biscardi Creative Media, for a while during high school. And this is when I'm still doing video production, but this is back when I was doing it a lot more.
Right.
And he taught me the most valuable lesson, honestly, in my life, which is how to organize a project. Like
Okay.
we use Premiere Pro, Adobe, and so he taught me how to do all my file structure, how to do everything. So I've carried that over. So just organizing all of my folders and basically the kind of vocabulary I use to name variables and assets and things like that has just helped this go by so fast. So I have to start with that. I'll go into my scenes. So everything's organized as a scene, kind of like objects, like in Unity.
Right.
And I go to my items, and here's my diamond. So the diamond I just drew in Sketchbook, just
Right.
used a couple lines and gradients. And the sparkles are just little drawn like yellow squares or diamonds just on their side.
Right.
And I uploaded them as an asset. I'll move this over. And there's this node. So within scenes, everything consists of nodes, and you have these nodes. You
Okay.
have spatial nodes, control nodes, 2D nodes, And within the 2D node, there is a particle effect. You have particles 2D. So these are a 2D particle emitter. And so I did that. And you basically, you check that they're emitting, you set the amount,
you give them the box they're in.
You upload, yeah, so I uploaded, that's the asset, so it's that little yellow thing. And you give them a box, and I think
You tell them 6, you got 6 on at one time?
I think 6 on at one time, and then you set all these crazy things. So, you have so many fun things to play with, pre-process speed, explosiveness, randomness. You can also do, my favorite thing to do is my favorite thing that I did was the buried coin, and I created, of course, like the wormhole effect.
Right.
So it's basically the same squares, but I modified the color. I made them emit a ton, so it looks like a line, and I set it on like this orbital path, and I have a start and an end. So you have like these really funky, fun particle effects to play with.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I mean, this stuff took me like 10, 15 minutes to play around with and go. And of course, it's, not all of it's like a final thing, but with my levels and stuff, I have my levels organized in my levels folder, and I actually have a template which I made that has everything ready to go. So when I want to make a new level, I just duplicate this and change the name. But I have my camera 2D, my exit, which is my buried coin.
So you just drag stuff in and drop it, and it's already hard, and he knows how to bounce off it, et cetera, right?
So yes, I created a scene. These are all my the floor tiles.
Yeah.
So these are all sprites that are static bodies, and they have they have my collision tag that they're these layers. So it's set to the environment layer. It collides with the player. It has the collision, everything, and I organize all the shapes and the directions, and I create a tile map out of them. And so when I go to make my level, I make a tile map, and it has all of my tiles, and these are all like whatever. And so I can drop in, and it's already.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, this stuff. So what kills me, by the way. And I have a guy who got me over the hurdle, Tony Barrett. I'll do a shout out to him. He really helped me get over my learning curve in Unity. My number one complaint of trying to get people from the game jams or kids that are smart to help me is they're really good at this stuff and like firing a bullet and the bullet hit them and they do something else, et cetera, et cetera. But when you ask them to model something like, here's the rules for cribbage, and that's what my games are. I mean, the Clutter isn't, but all my mini games are things like, okay, take this paragraph and create a bunch of tiles that have the letters of the alphabet from them, and you can only move them vertically. It's all this rule-based stuff that's not just a collision and something happens, right? And it's what separates the men from the boys. This is fun, but at some point you'll want to get lower than this, I think.
Oh yeah, but definitely.
Maybe not. I mean, this they do so much for you nowadays, right? You get better at. It's like everything. Everything has a meta level, right?
Yeah.
So you'll get better at learning what you really can do and what you pay the price for.
Yeah.
Like all your particle effects is probably why you if you just shut those off, my guess is you wouldn't lag on your screen while you have your game up. That's probably killing your frame rate.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But it is amazing what you can pull off, and what's really nice is this lets you don't need a person in between you and your vision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's my problem in the past when I worked for other people. I had, there was a game designer I got stuck with that I created the term game describer because that's all he ever did. And he only gave 2 levels of feedback. Too wonky, not wonky enough. Mm-hmm. And you didn't know what the hell he wanted. And he had no knowledge of what was hard or easy to do within the scope of the tools we were using. What I love now is I'm in Unity, and man, even though I'm not doing the stuff you're doing because I don't care about that, it's still amazing when I can make all my text just that color blue now because I'm paying attention to that now.
Yeah.
And in fact, the day where I realized I could select multiple objects in Unity and then affect them all at once,
Yeah.
just because of course that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, there's only 3 numbers in programming. Did you know that?
3 numbers?
Yeah, there's only 3 numbers you should ever use in programming.
0, 1, and -1?
No, infinity. Okay, right? Everything should be able to be, no cutoffs, no magic numbers. And same way with time. There's only 3 times you should ever use. There actually maybe 2. It's either fast enough or it isn't.
Right.
Right? There's instantaneous. Actually, there's 3: instantaneous, fast enough, not fast enough. And even I broke those rules. None of my games have ever had a loading status bar.
Nice.
I loathe them.
Yeah.
I loathe them because if you can do it quick enough, why put that up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there's so many tricks you can use to get around that. Like my clutter levels all come in. They do this nice little dance as they're loading. Why take away? That's something the player likes. The player gets to see the,
It's part of the experience.
It gets them excited, anticipation for the game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and you're the inaugural guest speaker for the Dev Series. Thank you, Joe. Puzzlesbyjoe.com, is that where people can find you and your games?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm on Facebook, and Clutter's on Facebook. They search for Clutter, they find me. Everybody in Atlanta, most people that watch this show from you is going to know me anyways.
Joe Casanova, no.
No. Yeah, no. Try it again. Come on. You can do it.
Joe Cassavaugh.
Joe Cassavaugh, yeah.
Cassavaugh. It's like Van Gogh, right? Van Gogh. All right. Thanks so much, Joe. I really appreciate it. It
was a pleasure. And I definitely look forward to seeing where this game goes and when you really get the town and the story and so forth, even though, again, the gameplay was, that to me comes first. Most people miss that.
Yeah. So. Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Joe. Take care. Have a good weekend. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.